Yep, we're up now.
Oh, welcome to Weekly Geekly, Geeks Worldwide's leading comic book related news podcast. I'm your host, Matt LaFleur, with my good friend James March.
Hello.
With Leon Fields. What's up, Leon?
Hey.
And finally, we're joined with Agasicles. How you doing, Agasicles?
Boom! What's going on, guys?
Oh, what's up? All right, so let's get right into the news. First thing we're going to talk about today is the Doctor Strange images and the new teaser trailer. What do y'all feel about it?
I hate Benedict Cumberbatch in nearly everything, but I have nothing bad to say about the Doctor Strange images. He looks pretty damn good.
I had the same opinion. I think he looks good for it. I just don't particularly like him. I think he's good in some things where he fits, but I don't know. He didn't fit for Star Trek, and that kind of has put a bad taste in my mouth.
He definitely looks like Stephen Strange, and like some of those images look really good. Like the cover image looks fantastic. The teaser was kind of cool because like it wasn't really didn't really delve into anything.
So let me ask you guys a question about the teaser trailer. Because I want to make sure I watch the right one. So
It looked fan made.
Exactly, and it's and when you go to every website, it says 720p, and I'm like, no. If that was Marvel marketing, that crap would be out in 1080p, full HD. And it had a really crappy music in the background that sounded like some 1980s
I'm not sure if it's official.
Although it's listed as official in a lot of places, but I'm like,
a lot of it I mean. If it's a fan-made trailer, it's a great fan-made trailer. But if it is just, it's just expect them to just give you this 30 seconds of all the action and stuff. You kind of just want a little bit of a teaser.
Yeah, I mean now that the costume is out in Entertainment Weekly, don't we think that the first teaser trailer would go ahead and show him in costume?
Yeah, you'd think so.
Yeah. I mean, that's what would make me think this is a fan-made trailer. Is where the hell's his costume?
And there's places where I've seen it that it does actually.
So why wouldn't they show it off?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could go either way.
Yeah, I saw it too, listed as a fan-made trailer in a lot of places, but then on YouTube it's up as the official. So it's just weird to me.
Yeah.
But I agree with you guys. I love how the images look. The big questions for me are so we know the comic just recently rebooted, right? We talked about that on Capes. That's a Jason Aaron joint, and it's definitely skewed very differently than the psychedelic 1980s, 1990s Doctor Strange. So, I need the camera pulled back so I can see more of the costume to see if he's got the combat boots on, and I want to see him wielding that battle axe. I'm hoping that's the Doctor Strange we're going to get. I think it would be.
We're not going to know till we're probably not going to know till San Diego.
Right.
We probably won't see a full Adam's coming out as being the love interest. There wasn't a character. From what I read, she wasn't confirmed as a character, just as kind of the one that he's been flirting with.
Right.
So she's not going to be Clea or anyone in the universe?
She may be, but it hasn't been confirmed yet.
That's interesting.
I read something. It was actually kind of funny. He was basically said this is a pseudo quote. He said something he's definitely been flirting more with Rachel McAdams more than Tilda Swanson.
Okay.
I wonder if she's gonna play Tilda, the Ancient One, as a boy or a girl, because that's what she was talked about. That
there has been some talk about the gender being maybe different than what we expect.
Yeah.
I feel a few hours ago.
I feel like the best way for her to play it is androgynous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just make her gender both unclear and irrelevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm really excited to see
the wisdom she can impart, not necessarily her gender.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to see. I'm gonna forget his name, but whoever's playing Baron Mordo. I'm definitely more excited for the villains in this movie than like Cumberbatch and McAdams and all of.
I'm probably gonna butcher his name, but it's Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yeah, something like that. And Mads Mikkelsen as what we think Dormammu. Not confirmed. He's great on Hannibal.
Yeah. So, but I mean, in which case it'll just be his voice, right?
Probably.
Probably they'll probably do what they did with Smaug in
with the CGI with the
they'll CGI his face in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, if they have the technology to do it.
So tell me, why do you guys not like Cumberbatch?
I personally, I liked him in Sherlock, and I think he can be a good actor in the right role, but I've been seeing him in a lot of sci-fi, and he doesn't seem to fit with that kind of. I mean, he looks like an alien, but he doesn't seem to fit the. I don't know that like. I can't really articulate it well.
I like him. I like. Oh, Leon, you go ahead. You have some strong opinions.
I didn't believe him as Karn. I just couldn't it wasn't a believable thing for me. And I've never really got into Sherlock. I've sat down and tried to watch it a lot of times, and I just really couldn't get behind him there either. So I don't know if he looks like he really fits the appearance. At least I'm really hoping that he can truly fit the role.
My question. Is he going to have a New York accent, or is he going to go with a British accent? Because he has done the Boston accent in Black Mass.
I think if they do the British accent, that means they might go for a more lighthearted kind of Doctor Strange that we'd want, like the really trippy, fun one. I think if they do the New York, they might try to make it gritty.
Most of my exposure to Doctor Strange is through Marvel vs. Capcom, playing a lot of Doctor Strange. So I really hope he's like that, because he was really goofy in that game, and I love the shit out of that. So if he's like that, I'll be happy.
Well, Matt, what do you think? I mean, what do you think the Jason Aaron Doctor Strange sounds like?
The new Doctor Strange one, I haven't gotten around to that yet.
Okay, all right.
Let's switch over to the Batman vs Superman images. Have you guys seen? There was a trailer that was released, like a Japanese trailer.
Yeah.
Okay. It had this. Didn't have really any more dialogue, but it had a little bit more of images. Didn't reveal anything.
The Batman vs Superman trailers have upset me. I loved the first one. I loved the first one, but the second one really disappointed me. The most recent one that I saw when I went and saw Star Wars in the cinema.
Same place. I saw.
I had some things revealed to me in that trailer that felt like, what is this Terminator Genesis all over again?
Yeah.
Do we need to know like the
blow
twists
your load
immediately?
that early? Why tell us months in advance?
Even
It's gonna be that it's
Age of Ultron, which showed Vision in the end of their third trailer, not even their second trailer, the third trailer. I thought that was a little bit too much.
Yeah, these are like those events and films that you're going to be like, oh my god, you have to see it because this amazing fight, or there's this amazing character, and it wasn't
character reveal or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and these are the things that would make me go and tell someone to actually go and drop some money to go to the cinema, because it's really expensive, not really worth it otherwise.
Yeah.
Fantastic experience. To have that experience taken away in a trailer.
Months in advance too.
Not even trailer 3, trailer 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's interesting that you guys mentioned Terminator Genesis, because when I was talking to entertainment editor Everett Harm, that was the same thing he and I went over. Was I didn't have a completely horrible takeaway from Terminator Genesis. It was okay to me. There were some problems with it, but it was not bad. And I'm not a huge fan of the Terminator franchise, so for me that movie broke out higher than some of the other things. But one of the big things was I had not seen any of the trailers that had done the big reveal.
Exactly.
So I wasn't walking in kind of with that jaded perspective. So
I wonder what it's going to be like to go into the theater with someone who hasn't seen the trailer.
Well, I haven't. Whatever trailer that Leon is talking about where there's something revealed, I haven't seen that.
Oh, well, then I'm not going to spoil it for you.
Yeah.
When
that might actually make the movie good.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. When what is revealed is revealed, I wonder what it would be like to sit with the Gasicles, someone who hasn't seen it would, and like he's kind of like freaking out over there, be like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Rather than sitting with like James, who's like, oh, I mean, I already saw this. Like,
we
this
already
doesn't.
know that this is gonna happen.
I feel like it's gonna be like very intense building up to it. Like the like I can already kind of hear like the score like rising and rising and rising.
Yeah.
And like and then bang, and you're just like, okay. It's like the Khan in Star Trek. Anyone who's seen Star Trek knew he was Khan.
Like,
you
see Kirk punch him, and you think, oh, it's Khan, because he doesn't get hurt, he doesn't flinch, and you think, oh, it's Khan.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks it all out, all of the excitement out of it.
And I haven't seen that movie, and I know we're not all going to agree. I mean, I guess for me personally, I don't hang problems on Into Darkness on Cumberbatch, because that's not the only spottily scripted or written movie that production company has come out with.
Oh no. And I think if we're gonna go into a Star Trek little tangent, the thing with that is like it builds up. It doesn't build up. So every Star Trek fan's like, when they're like, oh, it's Khan, everyone's like, yeah, I already know that. So that ruins the reveal. And everyone who's not a Star Trek fan's like, who's Khan?
Who's Khan? Yeah.
Yeah.
I only know because I watched it, like, the original stuff ages ago, like, with my father. Like, if I hadn't had any of that interaction, like, I would have been like, who the fuck is Khan?
That's what I was like. I didn't know who it was.
It feels like they're trying to do some kind of weird mix between it's for the old fans, but at the same time it's for the people that are, like, new and might get into it.
I'm excited for the new. It looks cool.
Yeah, the third movie trailer, Star Trek Beyond or whatever, I like how that's looking so far, but for the second movie, they just shouldn't have done Khan for this franchise. You know?
Yeah, definitely not.
Especially since it's supposed to be, a reboot.
Right.
They shouldn't have tried to shoehorn that in.
Well,
it's kind of a reboot.
It's a soft reboot. It's like a reboot, but it happened, but it didn't happen. Like,
but it's in continuity, which actually was a take that I liked.
Yeah, I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I just wish they could have done it better.
I wish what they did was they were like, Spock Prime was like, yeah, like, fuck Khan, like, get rid of that guy. when it turned out like Khan could have helped them, and they're like, what the fuck, Spock Prime, like, you kind of fucked us over.
Right. Now,
that would be kind of cool.
I will say, as far as, again, as J.J. Abrams and that production company taking on, a redo of a classic property, I do, and one of the comments I've made around a lot of the recent conversations is I preferred the first movie in that series to what they recently did with the first.
I agree.
What you were saying about it being kind of like for the new fans and trying to kind of be for the old fans, it's funny that you say that, because JJ has recently been part of another film that is exactly like that.
That's a great point.
Awakens.
How about you hold on to that thought till we get to Star Wars talk?
Yeah.
Which is funny, Leon, because I feel the exact opposite way. But
we have plenty to talk about with Force Awakens.
Let's delve into
or
a
Shadow
good
of the
trailer.
Empire.
Or Shadow of the Empire.
Let's delve into a good trailer, the Deadpool trailer.
I
watched that the first time just before we came up on live because I hadn't seen it yet, and damn, that is a good trailer.
It's pretty funny. That's funny.
So is that Gina Carano in the film?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. She's so awesome. So first thing I'll say about it right off the bat, I love the fact that they're just going straight at, this is in the Marvel Universe, these characters exist, they already know each other.
Yeah.
that line with Colossus about, I don't have any time for your X-Men bullshit.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for not having them walk up on each other like they're seeing each other for the first flipping time.
Yeah.
I get so tired of going through that. Like, every 2 years, every Marvel character and every DC character is meeting each other for the first time.
We don't need an origin story for every single person's interaction.
Right.
Yeah.
Hopefully that means that from now on they are sort of established, and those kinds of stories will finally be faded out.
Yeah. I think at least for Deadpool, I think the first 15 minutes or so of the movie is going to be him, like, diagnosed at the place and then the place burned down, and then it's going to get right into it. I don't think it's going to waste any time on an origin story.
Which is perfect for Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't wait for him to make jokes about it not being an origin story.
Yeah.
Which is, I would be fine with that for all these movies, but great Scott, dude, if the damn Spider-Man movie is another freaking remake,
oh my god,
there's another origin story, I swear I'm not going to see that in the future.
I hope Uncle Ben gets shot in Civil War. If they just do that, they shoot him in Civil War.
Yeah, pull a DC CW, right?
How cool
introduce the character like in some other property, so that by the time their own gig is starting, you've already dealt with all that crap.
How cool would it be if Crossbones killed Uncle Ben?
Yeah.
That would be.
I hope they do that now. I hope Uncle Ben gets like nuked or something, and then becomes a superhero in himself.
Yeah. No, but my favorite part of was but not even that. After that, when the truck flips, and he's like, "Shit, I leave the stove on."
Right. Now, who is the? Because I don't know. I guess I don't know. Who is the young female mutant who's with him?
It's like Negasonic, teenage warhead.
Yeah, that one.
Her powers in the comics are different than what it is in the movie.
Okay.
She's like a telepath in the comics, but it makes so much more sense for her to like have the power she has.
So are they not doing Deadpool's girlfriend being Death anymore? Are they making it this new spunky mutant?
Well, no, his girlfriend is Copycat. And they kind of tease that when she's like, I've played a lot of roles, and Damsel in Distress isn't one of them.
Right.
So I don't know if they were doing like that she's actually going to be Copycat, or that kind of like an Easter egg or something.
Like a joke, yeah.
Yeah. It looks good. It's really all these franchises and how they kind of pool around each other are very interesting. I'm very interested to see how the way DC is approaching things, and they kind of couldn't do this. They're not doing Darkseid, but
presumably,
yes, I find it interesting. To me, it's interesting that I feel like it's going to come off not as well when you do Darkseid after Fox has already done Apocalypse.
That's a good point. Well, I think it's going to be different because I think it's like he's a small Apocalypse. People say, like I've seen pictures, people being like, "Oh, like people are apologizing to Fox because they actually saw it in motion." I still think he looks like a Power Rangers villain.
Right. Well, and I should say, in the same breath, I should also say they're going to wind up doing Darkseid possibly after. It may be a race between DC dropping Darkseid and Marvel getting Thanos.
Yeah, that's
at full speed.
That's going to be the thing that I think about. I wonder if they will do Darkseid in Justice League, or if they'll do like a Brainiac or.
Right. It depends how long DC is planning on getting all of the Justice League together, though, because if they take the Marvel approach and try to give each of them an individual movie, even if they
they're not. They've come out with like their schedule like a while ago. It's like it's Batman vs Superman, Wonder Woman, Justice League, and then like the Flash, Green Lantern. That's all after Justice League.
So they're gonna hit okay. Then they could.
It's a
weird approach.
Yeah, that's very strange.
And so to wrap it back to Deadpool, I feel like tonally that like Deadpool is kind of in the same kind of tone lane as Suicide Squad.
Mm.
And so I just kind of wonder how, again, when properties are much closer, right? Like when you look at like Armageddon versus Contact or whatever the other asteroid movie was that year, or the year where Wyatt Earp and Tombstone came out the same year.
Yeah.
Like, if you saw Tombstone first, you pretty much didn't want anything to do with Wyatt Earp, even though I don't think Wyatt Earp is a bad movie. It's just one of those things of when a thematic or tonally similar movie drops, or they drop at the same time and you go see one before you see the other.
Yeah, you're not going to see the other.
Yeah.
Or even if you do see the other one, you're just going to be like, oh, that wasn't as good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The impact is reduced, so it's kind of interesting to see how these movies are going to wind up playing out against each other in the box office.
Suicide Squad's actually my like most anticipated movie of 2016, or at least most anticipated comic book movie.
I just don't get Suicide Squad. Like I don't
I
know.
think it's
Like,
gonna be the best one. I think it's gonna be the best one.
I just don't understand. Man, I don't get why have an ensemble cast that wide for the first movie. There's like 13 like DC characters in that.
Yeah, they should have had like 4.
It
And
does
exactly.
really feel like they're rushing. Like they want to catch up to Marvel because they are so behind in terms of their cinematic universe.
Yeah.
I think people are ready for DC though.
I've
been saying for ages, where the hell are the DC universe films going?
Yeah.
I agree, but
where's Wonder Woman? Where's like Arrow? I mean, we have TV shows. But...
I like the TV shows as well. Well,
and the TV shows
Arrow
are
not
good.
so much, but like it's going to be annoying when they do a Flash film because it's not going to be the same. And I kind of like that they've already established a Flash. Like they should be building it up everywhere, kind of like how Marvel's doing right now. Like you've got Jessica Jones on Netflix, you've got Daredevil as well. Why aren't DC Universe making use of the TV spots as well as the films, and then building up a greater DC Universe?
If they do that, that would be, I think, in some ways, a better approach, because that's you feel more attached to a TV show than you do a movie. In terms of characters.
I wonder if they'll do like the multiverse. Where I think if Flash and Supergirl have a crossover, then that means like the movies and the TV shows could cross over.
Yeah, I don't. From a business perspective, I think they're pretty much on record as saying they're not going to do stuff like that. Unfortunately, although I can see how that makes sense, and I've commented before how like back in like the 70s and 80s, what you would get a lot of is you'd have a TV show, and then over the summer there might be a big screen movie or there might be a made-for-TV movie. And then when that show picked back up in the fall, that stuff was all in continuity. So it would pick back up in the fall, like in the aftermath of like some summer movie that had released.
Yeah.
Which would just be awesome.
They did stuff like that recently. They did that with the Cartoon Network Thundercats.
Right. Well, and they did it because the a cartoon that was out at the same time as the Thundercats back in the 80s, the Transformers did the exact same thing. They did the Transformers animated movie over the summer, and then when it picked back up in the fall, that was the new continuity. And yeah, man, I agree with you that I think people are definitely ready for DC movies. But even amongst DC fans, the Suicide Squad isn't like... It's not an analog of the X-Men and Marvel. It's still a pretty niche property. So it's just really weird to me that they would try and cram all of those characters into one movie.
Yeah.
They're not going to have enough time to deal with each one. You've got characters like FRAKK in there, which is a highly complex character. Right?
Yeah.
Constantly goes back and forth between whether he's good or evil. He's been rendered tons of different ways in the comics, and you have him on the Suicide Squad, where your most recent iteration of the Suicide Squad, the New 52, was like 5 people.
Yeah, it was like Deathstroke, Harley Quinn,
Deadpool,
Deadshot, Joker's daughter.
I was about to say that you could literally just take Deadshot, Joker, Harley, Deathstroke, another. Ta-da! You have a film that you can follow quite well, get into the characters in the Suicide Squad, actually build up some of that DC universe that we need in the films and TV, but another wasted opportunity.
And then you've got characters in there that make no sense, like Katana.
Yeah, like I don't need Katana.
Like I love Katana as a character. Why is she in the Suicide Squad?
She's a volunteer. So she doesn't have a bomb in her head.
Right. Well, and that'll be interesting. And you mentioned, Leon, they're not using the TV thing, which I won't go into because I've talked about it for probably hours on other GWW podcasts. But it's okay. So if you're going to do Argus and you're going to have Katana be an Argus operative and she's in the Suicide Squad, I get that. But then why do you shave that so close to what's going on the TV show, but not use the TV show? It's the strangest uncanny valley that anybody's deliberately built that I've seen. It's just really weird.
I don't feel like there's any, there's because they've said that they don't want to have characters overlap, especially Batman and Superman, they don't want to have these big characters in their TV shows. I don't see the profit. I don't understand. Like, maybe you can help me understand it more, I guess, please. What is a pro of that?
Man, I don't know. I guess there's parts of me that agree with it, because maybe the concept is those characters are just too big to really. They're too big and they're so hugely risky to do well. I think the only thing that you could do, arguably that you should do, is kind of like I would be fine if Arrow met Batman on a rooftop, right, and they had a conversation. And then he just disappeared on Arrow, right? Since Arrow's always doing that to everybody else. I think that would be cool. Having Supergirl, have a conversation with Clark, I think would be awesome. But then you don't need to put him in the show. But even that's risky, because then there's some percentage of nerds who'll go like, "Oh, that's BS that he showed up and he didn't do anything." So
yeah,
I understand. I guess my problem with it is I understand why you don't do it from a creative perspective. What I don't like is the editorial and corporate intervention that makes a rule or a policy that says, thou shalt not.
We don't do this.
Right. That to me is what makes it seem very contrived and kind of BS.
And plus, they're missing out on a lot of potential audiences because they're not giving more attention to one than the other. They're trying to give each its own amount of build up and play, and it seems like it's
marketing.
It's like a marketing mess. Yeah.
Now, I will admit, the way the movies may play out is that, and maybe this is part of a larger DC vision that we don't see, it may be that their intention and perspective in terms of long-range planning is that by the time the movies are really hitting their stride, the TV shows will be done.
That could make sense. Speaking about DC TV, have we all seen the new Legends teaser?
I have not.
Yep.
It really isn't anything. It's basically just White Canary wanted to go back to get freaky in the 70s.
Oh yeah.
And they cast a woman to be her love interest in the 70s.
Yeah, cool. Very cool.
So it looks like the episodes. I don't remember who the woman is, but it looks like they're going to be in the 70s for a good 2, maybe 3 episodes. If they're going to cast someone to be a love interest, you can't just have a 1-episode storyline.
Right. Yeah, that shows another one that I'm starting to wonder about. And I was low on it at first, and then I kind of went high on it. Now I'm back down to so how are they going to do this again? How does this make sense? Basically 13 superheroes traveling through time.
It doesn't need to make sense. It
doesn't
that
many?
matter, remember?
Well, I guess what I mean in terms of these heroes, and these are not Marvel Knights power level heroes, right? This isn't Daredevil. Right? They've got some pretty powerful, characters on their roster, and I'm like, if they go back, it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie The Final Countdown, where the USS Enterprise, the aircraft carrier, goes back to the 1940s and fights the Japanese, and it is just laughable, when an F-14 Tomcat, goes to take down a Zero.
Zero, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, so these characters go back to the 1800s. What's the threat? What's the challenge?
Yeah, makes sense. And I don't know. This has always been a problem with me. Is just when something's so contrived. I wish they had a hero from the 80s. Just because why did Rip Hunter pick everyone that happened to be
in the same
Flash
timeline?
In the same timeline? Why not go back and get a
super group.
A cowboy guy from the Justice League Unlimited show, the cowboy guy. I can't remember what his name is.
The ripped up face.
Oh, Jonah Hex.
Yeah.
Jonah Hex. Why not get a Jonah Hex? That would be so cool.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's a very cool, kind of gruff character that would be, just a little more diversity in that cast.
Yeah, and just so it's not we're only picking characters that you know. And I'm fine with introducing them on Arrow and stuff, but you could have Rip Hunter just picking people off through the timeline.
Yeah.
I would so much rather that than see characters I already know.
Yeah. Go back and get like the 1970s Black Lightning with the afro and the freaking open shirt.
I mean, this is one of the problems with the TV universe. It's like, oh, everyone is discovering their powers / becoming heroes at the exact same time.
Right.
There's no like pre-existing history. No one is like, oh yeah, there was this guy called Superman and he was awesome.
Yeah.
It isn't universe building.
Which does
again,
clashes with some of their other stuff. Yeah, like Young Justice. In Young Justice, they imply that heroes have existed before them, but then with the shows that came out since, they're saying, oh, they discover their powers all at the same time. Everything's all together, and it fits in a nice little bow.
But I like the trailer, and one of the things I like about the trailer is I love, and again, there are members of the staff, GWO staff, who don't agree with me. I personally like Katie Leutz. I like the White Canary character. And I love the fact that there are so many shots, and I hope this is a tell on what the show's going to be like. There's so many shots of her in particular, but the whole crew not being in their superhero outfits.
Yeah, I want to see them interact with people from the 70s.
Right.
And from wherever they're from.
Yeah. Now, the risk with the show is that this may be out of your guys' timeline. The risk with the show is that it's going to come off like Battlestar Galactica 1980, where the Galactica finally arrives at Earth. And it's constantly like the Viper pilots going down to planet Earth in these hyper motorcycles that can fly and turn invisible, and like just these completely cheesy interactions of like these fictional people trying to put them in a real world setting. So I hope it doesn't come off like that. And then the other problem I have, and it's not necessarily with the show, it's currently a running theme that I have, is that. And I'm actually angrier now at the Flash. I identified problems I had with the Flash popping time travel so early, but I'm now hitting this realization that like time travel and portals are the ultimate like lazy off-ramp in sci-fi and superhero stuff.
Yeah, it's a writer's way out. They did it in like Lost and stuff like that. It's they did it in the show Heroes.
Yeah.
Character whose blood could heal. I think there's a line that's like, "Give me the heal anything blood."
Right.
And it's a cop-out. It's lazy writing.
And yet they still managed to kill off some of their characters, despite the fact they could easily just get that heal all blood and heal those characters, and then they wouldn't have even more fucked up writing later on if they had just used this plot device they had already put in the damn show.
Which was another big problem in Star Trek too.
Yes, and look, I love Star Trek universally, but they're leaning on time travel, drives me. Time travel and destroying the Enterprise. I'm like, yeah, they lean on those two things so much that it just drives me nuts.
Like even in TNG, time travel was always something that they explicitly stated was like, it's complicated and you can't just do it all the time. And then you see the movie and Spock comes into another dimension in another universe and. Oh, I'm from the Prime timeline, and like it doesn't really work like that.
He got old, and so he stopped caring as much.
All right, so let's talk about the record-breaking Star Wars.
Absolutely.
And is anyone actually surprised?
Not at all.
Unfortunately, no.
Most of it was filmed here, so. All that money is going to the UK.
Oh, nice.
Taxes.
That's good.
Pinewood, so I'm happy about that. Good things for our economy, considering how shite it is.
You guys deserve a break.
Never adopt the euro.
I don't think that's ever going to happen, considering the discussions going on right now.
Yeah.
So let's. I mean, we all know the records and such. Basically broke every box office record that in the time period that it's been able to.
Destroyed it.
So we have one person among us who's not a huge Episode 7 fan.
Really?
Agasicles.
Yeah.
Give us your position.
I think so let me talk about it objectively, and then let me get into just some mudslinging. My primary problem with the movie is it's way too plot holy for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's way too much of this is Star Wars. We know we skipped some steps here, but just buy into it. Like, it's there's a lot of hand wavy stuff, and it's not. And I've had this argument. We've had this argument, and it's not, to me, it's not akin to what they did in the original trilogy in 4, 5, and 6. It's when there's a mystery, that to me is not a plot hole, and I accept it. But like to me, the basic premise of not setting the stage of what the socio-political state of the galaxy is at the beginning.
But Agathocles.
Yeah, go ahead.
There is a resistance. There is a new republic.
Yeah.
Oh, did you do? I can't see your camera.
There
did you see the Jedi hand wave? Okay, yeah, right.
There have been 30 years.
That is
These are not the governments you're looking for.
Right. So yes, exactly. Exactly. There's a lot of Jedi hand waving in it.
It's bigger.
This is not episode 4 again.
Exactly. This is not another super weapon movie. Yeah, so it's that kind of stuff, and I get it. I think, to me, the reason for the movie's success is not entirely based on the merits of the movie.
That's 100% true.
It's about the box office.
That is 100% true.
It's driven by it's a rubber band effect.
Yeah.
Here's this thing that billions of people in the world loved. The creator then did these other 3 things that billions of people didn't love and millions of people despised. Now there's a thing that looks, feels, and smells like something more akin to the first ones, and because people felt so shitty about the prequels, there's this global glomming on to Episode 7.
I mean, I'm one of those weird people who has, like, well, yeah, there are problems in the prequel trilogy, but overall, like, I just love Star Wars on a level where I just want more of the universe. I'm enjoy it as a whole like that. But I engage with the expanded stuff like comic books and novels. Yeah. I think the biggest problem with all of these plot holes is we know they're going to fill them in other places. In fact, they already did in the before the Awakens comic book. They filled in quite a few gaps. And there's gaps filled in visual dictionaries and stuff like that. But then they didn't do it in the film, and
yeah, that's a problem. You can't expect people to read like your prequel comics and your like that's fine that you're making them, and people like me and obviously you, Leon, and James, and probably you too, I guess, because love to read those things and
I read the comics. I was one of the few people on the staff who read all 4 of the Shattered Empire stuff. Lots of other people stayed away from it, and it's like I think what I understand is I know where Poe came from, and I understand why Leia thinks so highly of him. But that's about it as far as major relevance in what I saw unfold in The Force Awakens. And yeah, like Matt said, I'm definitely on record as being a person who gets really pissed off when here's a thing that you give me, but you tell me that in order to completely understand it, I have to go consume this off-axis material. Like, I have other things to do with my time.
It's like we were saying earlier, it's made for the new and old fans at the same time, and it's kind of very weird that they're doing it like that. If you expect me to go in with this prior knowledge from comic books, I might not enjoy the movie as much, and why not have me enjoy it as much as possible?
You should have been able to understand exactly what was going on in the galaxy just by watching the original trilogy and then the crawler at the beginning of the film. That should have been enough to immediately go, okay, this is where the major characters probably are, and this is what the political situation is. Yeah. We just had the end of a basically massive war that lasted years and years and years and years, and then wait, what? There's another war? What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, hold on, you guys destroyed their super weapon, and after 30 years, you haven't figured out how to put these guys in a box? I'm like, what the hell? I guess, one of my other things is I get a little angst with the counters of, which isn't specific to when you have an opinion about Star Wars, but nerds go at this way all the time. Is, oh, you're thinking about it too much, or dude, you just need to relax. I'm like, no, this is my choice of how I feel about the film.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I agree with you. Like, to kind of go back to the prequel thing, I'm fine with you having prequel comics, and if you want to kind of delve into it more, that's fine. But like, if you're gonna have plot holes that are only answered in prequels, like that doesn't work, especially when you're not marketing the prequels as much as you're marketing this movie.
Right. Especially since if I know George Lucas isn't particularly popular, but if you look at the special editions, it's heavily implied that multiple planets across the galaxy stood up an insurrection after the destruction of the second Death Star. If they're just going to pretend like this new order came out of nowhere, even though there was this huge democratic resurgence, like, where are you going to leave us with that?
So, one question I had when I saw Starkiller Base was, how does a small kind of leftover empire or newly founded empire kind of pay for that?
Yeah.
Where did they get them from? I only have one theory, and it's only if they decide to draw from stuff that they've said is no longer canon. But
which I think the reason they said it's no longer canon is because they want to draw from that stuff.
Starforge, Knights of the Old Republic, that would make loads more sense. And it has the power to suck energy from the sun, so that would be where that came from. I would totally accept that. They can handwave that because they've established that in previous material that a lot of people have actually interacted with. And it'd be easy to digest as well. But it doesn't, like, at the same time, they're this tiny offshoot that the Resistance are kind of holding them off of the borders.
Yeah.
But they are also this terrible force in the galaxy that can blow up an entire star system.
Yeah, if you can blow up an entire star system, you can handle little resistance.
Yeah.
Well, and that you just let them build. I mean, very difficult to hide a planet-sized weapon of mass destruction. I think. I'm pretty sure.
I haven't built one, but I would assume.
So let's do this. Let's take all that stuff away and just say that that's in like the uber nerd, like you're way over detailing it, right? My other big problem with the film is it's so apes. It is so repetitive from the original trilogy. I mean, I talk about that scene in the war room. Which is a great Star Wars kind of typical thing. They always do this big mounting up scene where they're making the war plan, and it's literally vaudeville comedy. You know, you look at Harrison Ford acting that scene out, and what happens is if you do a scene breakdown, because I mentioned this and some people poo-pooed it, but it's like various members of the council are like really thinking it out, right? Like the one dude, I don't know who he is, but you know, they do Akbar, and then there's an Asian actor who kind of walks partially around the table and spouts a couple theories.
My dad's not a racist guy, but he said, "Is that Glenn from The Walking Dead?"
He did. He looked like that a little bit. But you know, he spouts a couple things, and Harrison is like, "Oh yeah, we can do that. Oh yeah, we've done that before.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think we can handle." You know, like it comes off like he's almost head nodding that in acknowledgement that it's repetitive.
Yeah.
Like,
it feels very much like that's 2 meters wide. That's as big as a wombat.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And I'm like, so that and the in the weapon of mass destruction plot setup, and the fact that like it seems like every parent who decides to orphan a child in the Star Wars universe doesn't.
There is an explanation for that, though. The reason that they use desert planets is because desert planets are low in life and therefore low in the Force, and therefore they are harder to detect Force sensitives on. But that's never mentioned in the film, which I think is bullshit.
Right.
That's actually really interesting. I didn't know that.
Right. Which, if you don't have that tidbit in your head, what does it come off like? It feels like it's a palette swap for Tatooine.
Yeah.
You know,
well, there you go. It's like a naive youngster on a desert planet who was abandoned on a desert planet meets a person or a thing who has fallen from space in a explosion, Finn. Then through that ends up meeting an old guy who teaches them about the galaxy and things that they don't understand.
Right.
I do think it was. Oh, sorry.
Who is sacrificed? Who is sacrificed? Like, come on, what's going on?
So my big takeaway is, and the way the movie makes me feel is, it makes me feel like it's an assumption that I'm an idiot, right? It comes off making me feel like, we know you like Star Wars, so we know you're just going to eat this plate of crap because it looks beautiful and we peppered a few lightsabers in it, and oh, look over there, there's the Millennium Falcon. And it just comes off like a very visual...
I actually did like that scene a lot.
I did. It's visually, it is a gorgeous film.
It's a piece of junk.
Really, from the cinematography aspect, you think?
No, he's talking about the Millennium Falcon.
Leon, that's the second time he's friggin' hoodwinked me. But yeah, like I think it's visually it's a great film, and it, the lines in it, sure, they sound like Star Wars, but I feel like the movie is very much pandering.
Yeah.
And as a moviegoer and a film goer, like to me it's such a turnoff.
Any J.J. Abrams directed movie is like, especially if you go back to the Star Trek movies. I feel like this is 2011 and we're talking about Star Trek.
But the first Star Trek reboot I liked. I felt it was smart. I felt there were some interesting creative choices he made. Again, a lot of people, I was on the other side of the line then, right? A lot of people didn't agree with it. A lot of people were like, why have Spock have a romantic relationship with her? And I said, because he explained to you the timeline's been altered. These are not the same people. There are different events that have happened in their lives. And oh, by the way, I don't want to repeat the same thing that got done in the 1960s for the 2.5 seasons the show was on TV. I'm trying to do something different.
What would be the point of just making a film series of that TV series?
Exactly.
But even so, like, if you look more at 2, he kind of does just get the feel back from kind of the nostalgic feeling you have from prior material and set that up for kind of like a new universe, which is why I'm really excited for Episode 8 with its a new director, when there's so many questions that he left unanswered.
So, can we talk about how Kylo Ren is basically emo wannabe Vader?
Yeah.
What a punk.
Okay, so
what a punk to have as your main master villain.
Something that really bothered me is that he is quite obviously quite immature in not just who he is, but in respects to his training. But he's made out to be this massive badass, and I think they could have took more advantage of building up like Rey's training over time in the films and Kylo's. It shouldn't have been like, oh yeah, Kylo's the boss. He can tell a general to go fuck himself and it's fine. It should have been like Kylo is being put in kind of like a position of trust. He's hunting this droid. That should have been like his first assignment or something like that. And like he has this general who's kind of meant to be like a new Grand Moff Tarkin. He could have had this general over his shoulder constantly being like, what the fuck are you doing? Now
I'm gonna disagree with you here on this. Like, sorry to kind of cut right in what you're saying.
Go ahead.
But there's scenes where he'll say something to Hux, who I thought Donald Gleason was beautifully acted, like he was. I thought he was amazing. But there are scenes, because I have an illegal movie link, and I rewatched the movie, and there's one scene where he goes, well, like Kylo Ren like yells at him. And Hux basically goes he's like, watch yourself, Ren. Like you want to talk to me like that, you can answer to Snoke. He's like, you better fucking watch yourself.
Even Vader had to respect Grand Moff Tarkin.
Right.
But I'm not denying that there is some of that relationship. I'm saying it wasn't heavy enough.
Exactly. It should have been. It should have been bigger. I fall in between you guys. I feel like Hux should have been much harder, much more stern, much more of a badass, much more clearly in charge. And it should have been much more about Kylo trying to prove himself. But to be quite honest, the movie to me comes off like the first half of the movie. I feel like the ending of the movie when he utters that line about go grab him because I need to complete his training.
Yeah.
That to me felt like a huge rug being yanked out from under my feet because the dynamic between the two of them was so soft as far as one of them being senior to the other that I was like, oh, right, he's not a Sith. His training's not complete, but the movie definitely at the outset through the midway point feels like he's supposed to be Vader, and you're supposed to be instilled
amongst the something you just said, Akaski. It's like he's not a Sith. Well, is Snoke a Sith?
Snoke. Can we all agree?
If Snoke's the Sith, though, then completing his training would be killing Snoke.
Yeah, rule of two, all of that.
Well then.
which would be.
And I personally think the Knights of Ren are all going to be Force-sensitive, lightsaber-using badasses in the next few films, and I think that there's possibilities some of them may be Force-sensitives who trained with Ben and Luke, because I think that when they talk about destruction, especially when the Force is involved and Jedi are involved, they often talk about the dark side being the destruction of that person. How Kylo says that in the film, I destroyed Ben Solo. Like, and Darth Vader destroying Anakin. It's built into the film, so it wouldn't surprise me if these aren't actually Sith in the traditional original trilogy or prequel sense. This is something new. It's still the dark side. It's still bad, but it's not the Sith.
And I didn't mean what I said. I didn't mean that to be so on the nose about him being specifically a Sith. I just mean at the end of the movie, he basically tells you, this guy is still in. This kid is still in boot camp, right?
Yeah,
and what I've really been doing is I've really been kind of deploying him to the field for his first trial run. But again, I felt like that's hoodwink. What's that?
It feels almost unnecessary to have that line, because he does come across as untrained. Like, you don't need to say he's going to finish his training. He could have more powers in the next film, and it would completely make sense. We'd be like, oh, he's just been training.
If Rey is already stronger than him in the Force, it seems fairly obvious he's not a Vader-type figure.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point?
I don't get it. He can stop an energy bolt, like, for 2 minutes.
He can break his mind, yeah.
But he can hold a lightsaber blade in place with Force. Can you imagine how hilarious that would be if you just held your blade in place and you went past with your hilt and went straight into your own blade? Come on.
It's just kind of a weird. It's so non sequitur. We already had to do a bunch of mental gymnastics when the prequels came out, and people had to get their minds wrapped around. Well, wait a second, Luke couldn't do all this stuff, and initially it was, well, it's special effects and they're better now, but then you had people started weaving more logic into it, right? Well, the reason they're able to do all that stuff is they're a higher power level because they're formally trained, and Luke trained in a swamp boot camp, right? I mean,
yeah. So the expanded universe does really build. Well, the legacy expanded universe really did build up on that, like the idea that there were more forms of lightsaber combat, that they all trained together, and they had this master and pupil system. There's also the fact that they even talk about how Palpatine uses the dark side of the Force to kind of mask his presence and kind of put a dampen on the Jedi's powers to perceive the future. And I'd imagine that when he destroyed all the Jedi, became the Emperor, he probably got even better at that. Like, by the time we get to Luke training in a swamp with Yoda, the Force probably is in a real bad state. Like,
I guess what I feel coming in my gut is this kind of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like, magical spell that'll be weaved that will unleash and unlock every Force potential in the universe.
And that's what they're talking about with the Force Awakening, I think. Yeah. Something like that. Like, people are becoming Force sensitive. Like, people who should have been Force sensitive anyway, but because the dark side has kind of receded over the galaxy, like, it's happening more often. And I can see that as being a thing. That would be quite interesting to me, because that would explain.
Like Leia.
More. Yeah, like Leia.
Like
what? Like the scene where she.
More stuff.
Where Han
feels
dies and she she feels it. That actually that really makes sense.
And Finn just has a plot moat around that whole character.
I want to see.
He is Force sensitive in the expanded universe.
Okay, right.
He is.
I would think so. I would assume so, based on what we saw in the film.
See, I was hoping, because in the film he doesn't cut his own face off with a lightsaber, that he has something there, and he also does show some pretty bullshit luck skill going on during the film, and you could put some of that up to, like, Rey using the Force to position the Falcon, for example, but he still had to pull off the shot at the same time. So, like, I think he's Force sensitive, and that makes a lot of sense. I wonder how that's going to work with Rey and Finn together. Like, what if Rey gets trained by Luke and then kind of passes that knowledge on to Finn over the course of the next film? And then because they realize, oh, actually, we both have this connection. But
just as like a
they could be really lazy with it.
Yeah, just as a reaction to fans like Agasicles, which I think there are a lot more fans that are going to come out once the kind of hype dies down, that people that don't really like the movie as much. But I wonder if in Episode 8, when Rey starts to train with Luke, it's like a huge just slap in the face, and he's like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like, you think you have all this power, but you have no you have just like maybe like the scrape the tip of the iceberg, or maybe even just like you're doing it completely wrong. And even if she might be more powerful than Luke, Luke is gonna just I think like if they train, he's just gonna destroy her.
Can we
Oh, sorry.
Can we unpack that too? Because so now I'm going to get into my mudslinging. So the movie is okay. I had a good time when I went to see it. I don't need to re-see it. I don't need to go to a second or third viewing or whatever. It's not a horrible movie. I'm not saying that. It just has problems. Now the mudslinging part of it is what really frustrates me is this refusal to acknowledge the problems by, I guess I will say, lots of Star Wars fans, and this is probably going to start getting me in trouble. But as a for instance, can we unpack Daisy Ridley? The character of Rey is fine in the film, but some of the things that I've seen written, like this notion that she is now like the full realization of a female action star, like she doesn't really do that much in the film.
It's just because she tells Finn off for grabbing her hand. Come on, that's all it is.
I mean, she's got a rock climbing scene, climbing up a wall. Pretty sure that's been done before. Quite honestly, her lightsaber fight with Ren, to me, was less interesting than the fight he had with Finn. Granted, Finn gets knocked out at the end, so that's a takeaway. But I found myself much more interested and exciting when Finn was wielding a lightsaber than when Rey was wielding the lightsaber. So I just don't get it. You know,
I think that might be because Finn doesn't have this MacGuffin of the Force, at least in Episode 7, so he feels much more vulnerable, and it actually feels like he's in danger when he's fighting Rey.
Okay.
But Rey should feel in danger too.
He should, but it does feel a little like you kind of can feel that she's not really going to get seriously hurt, like when Finn does.
Right.
Yeah.
And you see him get hurt, and it does help add to that sort of sense of vulnerability.
Yeah. I didn't feel like her performance came off so hugely great that she warrants the regard as like the new definition of the female action hero.
She's a Mary Sue. Max Landis said it. Like, people called him sexist, but he's right. She's a Mary Sue.
What is? I'm not getting that.
She's only a Mary Sue because there's like so much plot hole around her that she literally can't make sense as a full character.
Yeah, but a Mary Sue is someone that's like doesn't have to do anything, like overpowered.
Okay.
Like Luke in the fourth one was kind of a Mary Sue, but not really. Just like he's a Mary Sue as a pilot, where he could do all these things without.
Without
having to.
Through his speeder, remember? His speeder is a spaceship down a trench full of turrets.
Exactly.
And he has the Force.
He was a Mary Sue in that sense, but she was definitely a Mary Sue. Like, she didn't use the Force once. Even if they like kind of showed her on the planet being like, how great would it have been to fix some of these plot holes that she's talking to Simon Pegg's character, the guy that like gives out the portions,
and got him to give her extra ones.
Yeah, he's like, why isn't this worth 2 portions? And he's like, okay, and gives her 2 portions.
That would have been good. Yeah.
That would have made a lot more sense.
That was Simon Pegg?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. How cool would that have been? Just like, because that at least establishes that she's been using the Force.
That would have been a good Chekhov's gun. Yeah.
It depends. Like, and this is why I say a lot of her problems are because of the plot holes. Is like, well, if she's like some people are theorizing Luke's daughter, if she was trained as a Jedi before and then like mind wiped or something, that would explain why she picks it up so quickly. But obviously that's just like a fanon like theory. Apology for the film almost, like for having all of those holes. Like there are ways that within the Star Wars universe it can make sense that she can
want it to just be like
it's not there.
She just did it without even knowing. Character. And it's like, wait, can I have 2 portions? And then he's just like, kind of does what the Stormtrooper does, and he kind of like stops and freezes. It's like, yeah, you can. Like, she just does it like she doesn't even realize she's doing it.
Yeah, that would have been good, and that is kind of in line with what is being previously established with how people realize they're Force sensitive.
Yeah.
And so all that stuff being said, I will admit, it was always a huge challenge to pull off. Right. So maybe at the end of the day, the creative choices that were made were the right ones. Maybe at the end of the day, the decision was made, look, we're never going to package a story tight enough to really satisfy Star Wars fans. We need to not focus on that. We need to focus on making it look, feel, and sound like Star Wars.
Yeah, which I think is what they did.
And that's great. Like I said, I love the Millennium Falcon scene from a visual perspective. The scripting and story around it bugged the hell out of me, but visually it was beautiful. It was gorgeous. There was one green screen shot that was a little off. It was a beautiful camera shot, but the camera gets in just a skosh too close to the Falcon, and it's just blatantly and obviously visually a model, and it kind of takes you out of the scene for a split second. I love the X-wings, the Rogue Squadron or Wraith Squadron or whatever you want to call them. Excuse me. That scene of them powering in over the water, was gorgeous. But I think maybe the biggest problem with the film and the biggest challenge for the film is, the expanded universe had an easier job because they picked up Return of the Jedi and moved the story forward from there in the same timeline and continuity. And that's why, in a lot of ways, to me, the expanded universe was always such a beautiful thing. This movie is a changing of the guard movie, where it's attempting to shuffle out some hugely popular characters that just, I don't think they can even be recreated by the actors that originated those roles. Like, Harrison Ford is probably my most favorite actor of all time. He, whether it was scripting or him or money or whatever, he was not the Han Solo in that film that he was in 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher is not the actress she was when she was Princess Leia, and there are problems with her attempt to recreate the concept of an older Leia, granted packaged with the scripting. I think Mark Hamill probably has the best shot at feeling like Luke Skywalker 30 years later. And
because he's been doing stuff like that. Like, those characters haven't been doing like Trickster on the Flash or Joker in video games and stuff that have kind of kept them into like this kind of like quotes universe.
Like going back to the Legacy expanding universe, there's so much they could have drawn from, like, to fill in that 30 years just in terms of personality. Like, I know I didn't expect them to take anything from it, but I'm surprised how little they did with what could have inspired those characters. Like Han, Luke, and Leia, how they evolved during the expanded universe, and I've read literally every book after Return of the Jedi. And it's great. They do grow closer together and further apart at different points based on different actions, and they could have easily drawn on that to find the right kind of emotional states and behaviors that those characters would have. Like,
and that's what the EU is. The EU is the continuing story of those characters really coming of age and growing up and transitioning from being young swashbuckling heroes who are very idealistic in their outlook and becoming true leaders of the galaxy and interacting with all of the politics and encountering challenges and surmounting challenges that exceed whatever their concept of the evil of the Empire was.
Which is a big problem with me for them getting rid of the expanded universe, because Leia, Luke, and Han all feel sacrifice in the expanded universe. They all lose a loved one, and that's something that they've taken out of, as far as we know, out of the new movies, and that could be kind of disappointing for the character.
Don't even get me started on the fact Mara Jade isn't around.
You're my soulmate, Leon, because that's one of the big hits I have too. Is the fact that we're basically probably not going to get any concept of Mara Jade just hurts.
I don't believe for a second. Like, in fact, that's actually another part of the film I struggle to kind of believe, because the plot holiness is that Luke would try to train Jedis once, have it get fucked up, and that would be it. Like, in the expanded universe, I swear most of his students get killed like several times, and he just keeps rebuilding and learning lessons, and by the end of it, he's basically a god because of that. And it's like, he's just, I fucked up once. Oh well, I'll go hide in Cornwall, and hopefully no one will come and find me. I'll just give up.
Yeah. Well, let's talk now about the some theories for episode 8. With the new director, I think his name's Ryan Johnson. I'm not sure what he's done. Did he do Fast and Furious?
Oh, please don't say that.
No, I think you're thinking about the Star Trek when we're.
Yeah, Justin Wu, or Jason Wu.
I thought it was Jason Lin
That
who was
would have
doing.
been bad.
Yeah, so a director of a Fast and Furious installment. I think he did Tokyo Drift. I'm not certain, but one of the Fast and Furious directors.
I know Looper. He did Looper. I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
Ryan
I'm okay
Johnson
with
did
it.
Looper.
I'm okay with it. The thing I like about the new Star Trek movies is that they are action-oriented away from the starship. And I'm okay with that take on it.
Well, no, Ryan Johnson did Looper. Not
okay.
not the Star Trek guy. Some of my theories are, I mean, everyone knows that it's gonna. Well, I kind of hope it is. I hope like there's some Empire aspects of it, like the whole Yoda training, which is I think gonna be what Luke and Snoke do, and stuff like that. Which I think it's gonna be cool to see a dark side guy train because we've never seen that.
Unless they hand wave it and say it happened between the films and screw you.
That would be terrible because seeing Sith is something they need to do with all of these.
They're gonna do it, guys. It's gonna happen. You know it is.
So many people aren't interested in that, unfortunately.
And I think Snoke is Plagueis.
Oh yeah, I can jump into that theory with you. I actually have quite a good explanation as well. I can definitely jump in. I have a good explanation for why he looks how he does and all that as well. So.
Yeah, universe stuff. I know that's not canon anymore, but Plagueis was so good at illusions that he could trick Sidious into thinking that he wasn't even there. So if Plagueis could do something where he could, he realized he's getting attacked by Sidious, creates this illusion and escapes. That explains why he's fucked up. Explains why he would be not on the planet because he's basically recharging. Am I missing anything here, Leon?
Okay, so this is how I usually break down my Plagueis theory for this. So Plagueis was a Mun, and Muns have really tall foreheads. That's one of the things. He's got really fucked up top of his head. Well, if he had a fight with Sidious, Sidious could have maybe cut the top of his head off and thought it was a lethal blow. We're talking about a guy who's meant to have created the Chosen One. If he can play with the Force and create life like that, I think he can take half of his head off and probably survive in some bullshit dark side Force power way. And I think that his powerful illusions will actually play a part in how he's made himself look in The Force Awakens. He uses gigantic version of himself with hologram, but his use of illusions would be consistent with that. It's smoke and mirrors to control people.
Snokes and mirrors.
Snokes and mirrors, yes. So yeah, that's usually how I go for it, and it would make a lot of sense that he would go into hiding and then just bide his time until the thing he had tried to set up kind of comes to fruition, which eventually he's like, oh, hello, Ben Solo, you're a descendant of blah. I've been waiting for this moment.
And if he's so powerful, he probably could either A, hide himself from Sidious, so Sidious was like, yep, he's dead, or he could be he could see into the future and see how it's going to end, but he could see far enough into the future is all right, well, this First Order is going to set up after no explanation. They're not going to have the funding, but somehow they're going to make a huge Death Star.
But the funding will make sense if he's Plagueis because he was a banker, and he would have known how to manipulate things from the background, and he was. That
does explain it, because the Muns are from the banking clan.
Yeah, and him being hidden from Sidious makes sense because he's in the unknown region, so he could literally have been anywhere in quite an uncharted part of space in the Star Wars universe. It can make a lot of sense. But will they take advantage of all that pre-established material?
That's something we'll just have to wait for 2017 to find out.
So just to set our commentary on the directors straight before we get hate mail and nasty comments. So Justin Lin has been the primary director of the Fast and Furious series since Tokyo Drift. I think he's directed every single one except maybe one of them.
Okay.
He's directing Star Trek Beyond, which again I'm fine with. And what's the guy's name?
Rian Johnson. It's Rian Johnson.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you said, did Looper. He also did one of my favorite films, which is The Brothers Bloom.
And he also did a Breaking Bad episode.
Yes, yeah, he did 3 of them.
He did Ozymandias, which is like one of the.
Oh, he did Ozymandias.
He did Fly, which is also one of my favorite episodes.
Fly is very good.
So what I'll definitely say is it's transitioning from JJ to this guy. JJ primarily does action, sci-fi, kind of I'll call it deep mystery stuff. This is a guy who's definitely much more into character actors and drama. I think that will be a nice feel. One of the things I love that Marvel did was putting Kenneth Branagh on the Thor movie. I think that's one of the things that made that a good movie for me. I know not everybody was into it, but so hopefully.
Which one, Thor 1 or?
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, all right. That was a good one. So what are some of our other theories? Like, I wonder what Captain Phasma is going to do, because actress like Gwendolyn Christie, who is really good at action. Like, she even talked about, I was watching one of the IGN interviews with her, where she talked about how during, like, breaks and scenes, she would just grab a couple swords and teach everyone how to sword fight.
She does
like, she's a really good action star, because she...
Yeah.
But in the film, they didn't really take advantage of her.
They didn't. You say they didn't really take advantage of her, like they kind of took advantage of her. They didn't take advantage of her.
What are you talking about? She looked intimidating.
She did drop the shields without a fight. How great would it have been if during that scene they had like a couple of people that were just cannon fodder, like instead of just Chewie, Han, Finn, and I think Ray wasn't there. Except for Chewie, Han, and Finn, they had like 2 or 3 other people, and like as they try to capture Captain Phasma, she just fucks those 2 people up right away.
Yeah. Well, I understand they're trying to save her. I get it, but
give me something. Give me an appetizer. Yeah. Give me a little bit.
The most feared stormtrooper in the First Order.
She should have fucked Finn up. That's what should have happened. She should have completely fucked Finn up. He shouldn't have got fucked up by Kylo Ren. That's what should have been his major injury point. He should have just got completely destroyed by someone who was meant to be above him and truly is above him in every way from a military point of view. And instead, it's just like, hey, do you know where a garbage chute is?
I mean, she drops the shield based on a verbal parlay. Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, it would have been cool to see her take out like 2 or 3 guys, and then have Han, Finn, and Chewbacca eventually take her down. But then have her try to put up a fight, like maybe punch Chewie in the face.
Or let me put it more on the nose. She rolls over and drops the shield for the singular super weapon for the entire First Order, based on being threatened by a 70-year-old washed-up smuggler, a 500-plus-year-old Wookiee, and 2 freaking kids who barely know how to wipe their asses.
And it was actually one kid. It was one kid. Ray wasn't there.
Oh, right.
The Wookiee is literally the only believable threat. That's
right.
Because we don't really see Finn. We see Finn with the lightsaber briefly when he fights that stormtrooper. So we're not really threatened by Finn. Han Solo's like 1,000. You're not threatened by him.
Yeah. And admittedly, I will admit, just for the sake of argument, I'm definitely kind of hand-waving over the Wookiee. That may have been enough to make a person just do what they were being told to do. But, you could have grabbed Finn by his throat and thrown him into Han and Chewie.
Yeah, she could have tried.
I just...
That's why I wanted the 2 cannon fodder, because I understand that you can't really attack the 2 main characters, especially when you're saving Han's death for Ben Solo, basically. We really should have had a spoiler thing at the beginning.
This is the most badass stormtrooper who's been raised by birth to serve the First Order, and
then if you have her take out 2 or 3 people with ease, and then it's a real fight between Han, Finn, and Chewie.
Well, or even just say, shouldn't she be at the level of loyalty to the First Order that she would be willing to sacrifice herself
for it? Yeah.
More so.
Like that. Have you guys seen Inglourious Bastards?
I have not. I hear it's good.
I have.
I have not.
Have you seen it, Leon?
No.
Well, James, you know the scene where the early in the movie when you first see the bastards in action.
Mm-hmm.
When they're trying to find out in the town over where everyone is, where the snipers and stuff are.
Yeah.
Where the German soldiers they're like, where are they? And he's like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you, go fuck yourself.
That level.
That's what they should.
Yeah.
That level of I'm willing to die.
She should have been a little more badass.
She's meant to believe in the First Order wholly. She shows that in every other scene in the film, and then at that point she's just like, it doesn't matter. It's just our biggest weapon that can literally destroy
our most important thing. Arguably our most important thing. More important than Ren. More important than Hux.
She does kind of imply that she doesn't think they'll even be able to stop it. So it could have a little bit to do with too much belief in the First Order.
Good. In which case it just should have been scripted and acted.
Yeah,
with that degree of pompousness and overconfidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have liked to see her a little bit more overconfident.
Yeah.
And I love Gwendolyn Christie. She likes one of my tweets. We're all good.
Yeah, it's definitely not a problem with her. It's just a problem with how the film fell.
Yeah. What are some other things we expect for Episode 8?
Poe and Finn to have a relationship.
Yep, definitely. I kind of hope that we get a fight scene between Luke and Ren, reminiscent of Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, but in kind of a reverse.
I want
a reverse.
I want a reverse Empire Strikes Back. I want it to be like Luke overpowering Ren, like Vader overpowered him on Bespin. That's what I want.
Weak he is.
Yeah.
But think about that. I want Luke to fuck up Ren because I hate Kylo Ren. But you really can't have a villain get fucked up twice.
Mm.
Well, let me ask you guys kind of the same question, but a slightly different way. Who of any of the characters, what character are you most engaged with, and most in anticipation? What pains you for the next 2 years to sit and wait to see their story unfold?
If I was gonna,
what's that, Leon?
I just want to know what's going on with Luke, guys.
Okay.
What were you saying, James?
For me, it's Finn.
Okay.
I really am interested in seeing how the First Order treats its lowest of the low stormtroopers and seeing how it treats the more elites, and I'd want to see how Finn evolves as a real human as opposed to FN string of numbers.
Yeah, I'd love to see that too. Like, him and Luke are the characters I need the most questions answered for.
What about you,
I
man?
definitely want to see Luke
kind of
get angry. I want to see him feel emotion and maybe regret over Kylo Ren.
That's what I was about to say. Like, I want to see Luke be like, how would it be if, they're about to fight and Luke's like, I failed you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, instead of them, because we know Kylo's going towards the light side. He said it.
Mm-hmm.
How cool would it be to see Luke be like, kind of like, I failed you. I did this to you, and them kind of have a moment.
See, I didn't read that scene that way. I read that scene as just a dupe to get Han in close. I don't think Kylo's anywhere near the realm of making a turnaround.
I think that.
Oh, sorry, Leon.
So the whole Kylo going to the light side thing. I think that in the scene where you've got the amazing lighting direction, where you have the blue and the red on him, it's completely split, and he says he's in so much pain. I don't think that's that was just a ploy. I do think he is in a lot of emotional pain. Like, the dark side would do that to you, and he thought that moment, that action, would be that clarity-defining thing. He would be like Darth Vader. He would have reached his potential because he will have that emotional balance of, however emotional balance a really angry, furious warrior can be anyway. He would have that. But then after he did it, he didn't have that clarity. He had anger, and he was still upset, and I think that's why people are saying, oh, he's going to go to the light side, is because I don't think his mind is truly made up. I think there is still potential for him to fall either way and then become kind of like anti-hero for the cast. But
Can we talk about kind of an offhand line Leia said? At one point, she said something along the lines of, "We kind of expected this. He had too much of my father in him." What was that? That was one of the plot holes that Gasly was talking about.
Basil Organa was a very overconfident man.
No, her father. She's talking about her father, Darth Vader.
Right.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
If he has too much of Vader in him, then that means there's always potential for him to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's it.
No. That's what I'm saying. Is like, what was that Vader in him that they kind of knew when he was a kid? Was he like one of those psychopath kids that's like killing animals? Like, but it's kind of funny. But
just
like,
look at him.
I know, but I want to know kind of like. We talked about how much we hate origin movies.
We should have known when we heard him listening to death metal and putting on eyeliner and growing his hair out. Oh, God.
Well, the thing that's so weird to me about this, and again, I think it survived fine for the first 3 movies. It gets problematic as you start to extend it, is the quintessential problem in this whole mixture is when you allow a Jedi to have family.
Mm-hmm.
Right? For both sides. If you want to make a super badass Sith who is very clear on being evil, don't pick the guy who has family.
Well, that's the thing. Kylo Ren's not clear on being evil.
Right, that's my point. Why do you pick a Kylo Ren instead of a Darth Maul?
This is why I think that...
Okay. I get
well, this is why I think you can lay more weight towards the Plagueis theory, because Plagueis would know that he's a descendant of the Chosen One and would want to make use of that power. I think Ben is literally being used because of that relationship to Anakin Skywalker. I think that potential of power is the only reason that he's under Snoke, and I think that if he is going to not be full dark side, even if he wasn't light or dark, he was just in between, kind of a gray Jedi kind of thing, like people like to say. I think that would be why Snoke will actually be the only guy who is dark side and menacing, maybe.
Well, an interesting twist would be if in all this mixture of people who we think are force sensitive and force potentials and all that kind of stuff, if the twist is Kylo does go good, and what really winds up happening is a much more lucrative student who can be turned to full evil is actually the one Snoke grabs. So
like Finn
or Rey. Yeah. I would love that.
I think having family, though, gives you the opportunity to become a stronger Sith. Sidious tried to convert Luke, and Luke had strong ties to Han and to Chewie and to C-3PO. And I think that breaking those bonds probably makes you a stronger Sith.
Well, it sends you down the well, right? I mean, once you kill that family or close friendship, there's no going back.
I don't know how far you guys are in the expanded universe, but the resurgence of the Sith, they show you the inner workings of becoming an acolyte and then a saber and then a full Sith. And one of the first things that they do is they kill your closest family pet, or they threaten to. And if you show any emotion, they kill it, and you can never become a Sith saber, which is like a Padawan for the Sith.
Which is the same thing Whedon does in his vampire mythology,
mm-hmm.
And the same thing that the Kingsmen do with your pet during training.
Yeah.
I guess it goes back to working out kind of what the philosophy the Darksiders in this trilogy will have. If it is a rule of 2 kind of thing, you wouldn't actually see that kind of progression. It's just you are being educated until you work out how to kill me and steal all of my power. That's how that relationship works, and they have a lot of good material again to draw from the Legacy universe. Just the Bane trilogy, don't need to really say more than that. But if this is going to be you become a saber and you kill these guys, and actually what happens in the film is part of Kylo's test, well, in the next one he might actually be more balanced in the end because of that.
And the reason I asked you guys the question I asked you was, for me, I'm most interested in seeing Finn's development, but the other side of that coin is he's the only person who I found interesting and engaging in the film. Luke,
he's something new,
reason. Right?
Something new
and interesting. And then my final thing, man, is And I just can't take the Knights of Ren seriously because of their name. They feel like a Monty Python gag
That's
line.
because they forgot to call them the Knights of Revan and then totally pull out the Knights of Republic material.
Knights of Ren. Yeah, that works.
We're creeping up on an hour and a half.
Yep.
So let's go to... Has anyone been reading anything good lately? Any good comic books or anything?
I haven't been reading any comics because most of my time's been took up by watching One Punch Man on repeat. That's where I'm getting my superhero.
Matt, are we allowed to talk about One Punch Man? Can we get into a little anime?
Yeah, definitely. YouTube.
God, it is so good.
It's everything I love about Shonen Jump-esque stuff without all of the crap. There's no training scenes. There's no unnecessary filler. It's just 12 episodes of action and development, and like you never would have thought that someone who is literally the most powerful hero in the universe could be so damn compelling and interesting. But his emotional state and who he is and what his power level has done to him and how he interacts with the world, it's amazing.
It's so interesting because in Dragon Ball Z, you look at Goku and he wins every fight, and you know he's gonna win, but it's after episodes and episodes of fighting. But One Punch Man just throws all that shit out the window.
Yeah, it's like, well, actually, if you were the most powerful guy,
you
would literally just like, you get hit around until you find an opening, and then you just punch them so hard that they turn into blood.
And Tornado is hilarious. Atomic Samurai is hilarious. Silver Fang, I really, really want to see more with Silver Fang.
Yeah, I really liked him. I especially like that, like, in the final fights, he gets his ass kicked at one moment, and then he comes back stronger than ever.
Yeah.
And he's like, my back is fixed. And then right at the end, he's like, my back's killing me. And it's just like this really old dude who's still better than most of the youngsters.
Like an Obi-Wan kind of character,
yeah. In fact, he came across as like a fixed Master Roshi in a way. Like, not a pervert, master of martial arts, I really like Genos. I think he's like the awesome cyberpunk kind of playground. Like, they're just gonna keep... Well, I haven't read the manga, so I don't know what he progresses in like that, but I can just imagine he gets more ridiculously awesome in terms of the technology on him and his design. I love the Hero Association idea, and Human Rider is probably my favorite character from the off-side characters, because he's like a true hero, just like One Punch Man, but without that power. Kind of like what he could have become like if he hadn't done 100 sit-ups.
Yeah, 100 push-ups. I think Moomin might become a more complex character as we go, because the show does have, like, determination is the biggest deciding factor in what turns you into a superhero, and it's obvious Moomin feels that, like, that feeling of wanting to be a hero. So I
hope he'll blossom, and suddenly he'll just like have this thing that makes him strong. And I think that I don't know if it's ever covered anywhere else, but if that's why One Punch Man is amazing, it's just because he does it because he knows it's right and he wants to do it. Like, that would be amazing. And in the final episode, something is said about him. It's like his energy is limitless. Does that mean that he just keeps going?
He kicks the crap out of Boris, and he's like, "You're lying. It wasn't hard for you. You totally kicked my ass, and you didn't even try."
And the animation is really good, and
super fluid.
Like, it's so fluid, and his whole like not really caring in the fights thing is actually shown off with little blips where they show for like a frame him getting hit, and his facial expressions is just like, okay.
And like his special attack, he comes up with the name on the spot.
Yeah.
Serious punch. Like.
Yeah. And that's just because he kind of wants to have all this stuff that the other heroes does.
He wants to be that like anime character.
Yeah. He does want to be that anime character, but he also sees that there's something more important, because he often sacrifices that element of him
for letting
what his greater goal
heroes,
is. Yeah,
like with Deep Sea.
Them is so important. Yeah, and that episode was amazing as well. I thought they did some amazing stuff with, and this is consistent throughout the series. They do this thing where they switch the style up of how they're drawing a character based on what's going on in the scene, and it fits so perfectly and so fluidly with everything. It looks fantastic, and it allows you to also see this different style, so it never grows tiring.
It feels so good. I don't want to absorb all their time blushing about One Punch Man, but
Yeah.
Lando. I read Lando. I was reading it with Matt actually. One of the prequel comics for Star Wars. Lando was very good. I was very impressed with it.
I have to check that one out.
Now, have you read the other comics that have been going on since
I actually I was gonna start Shattered Empire after this.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you feel about Lando after reading those, because I think most of us who on the staff who were reading them from the beginning felt like Lando was one of the weaker ones.
Oh, really?
But that's in comparison to like the Star Wars one is pretty good. The Darth Vader one I think is pretty much almost universally considered the best.
Oh yeah.
I haven't read that yet, so I do have to
Will
get on it.
had like a good what you guys just did with One Punch Man. Me and Will did that on a Capes episode talking about Vader down.
Yeah, and I think you got to read if you like dogfights. Shattered Empire will be your gig.
Oh well, I'll definitely have to check that out then.
And the artwork is beautiful. I can't remember who the artist was on that, but it's stinking amazing.
I absolutely do.
Yeah.
There's actually oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's a comic book store here that's very close that sells a lot of stuff very cheap, and they have that entire series. I was actually going to go pick them up tomorrow.
Yeah, it'd be good to grab them before the only way you can get them is in trade.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, for me, I've been reading Harrow County, which is from Dark Horse, Cullen Bunn, and I can't remember the artist's name because I didn't do my homework before the show started. But I had been on that series for single issues. I think I picked it up maybe at issue 5 or 6, but I missed the first few, so I went back and got that in trade. Actually, I'm converting over to reading pretty much all trades now. But if you're a big horror fan and if you're into like Hellboy,
absolutely, I love Hellboy.
This is a slightly different take. It's a little more grounded, but it's really awesome. It's great. It's great world building at the mythology level. Again, kind of like that Whedon-esque approach to building out horror. And it's real fun. Chris Peary, another one of our staff writers, also read it, and he's a fan. So it's a good series.
That sounds good. I definitely have to check that out.
Oh, awesome! That's good.
Has anyone read the Uncanny X-Men?
No.
Not yet.
I don't read comics. I feel really bad.
That one's good. It's a lot of stuff that's like it does a lot of reveals and stuff at the end of each issue, which I've noticed is kind of like in the recent Marvel stuff I've been reading. That's a lot of what it is. Is like at the end of each thing, like wait till next month to see blank back in action. Like I don't want to spoil it, even though next week I gotta put.
So is it a series that I could like jump in on quite easily and get a lot out?
It's only 5 issues in. No, 3 or 4. It's in a universe where Old Man Logan happened, but like he's still alive.
Right.
And like Jean Grey's young, but like they all like kind of remember what happened in like the past universe before Secret Wars, but like they're all different, and I'm excited to see what happens at the end of Secret Wars because I mean everyone talks about, they'll be like, oh, and like Iron Man issue will be like, oh yeah, everyone knows what happened at the end of Secret, like how that ended.
I'm just ready.
How did it end? I'm
just ready for that crap to be over.
Yeah, I know, but like I'm so excited because I've been reading so much stuff. It's like, well, we all know how that ended.
Yeah.
How did it end?
That's a thing that just made me glad about getting off of single issues, because that and I think DC pulled themselves out of that nosedive sooner than Marvel did. But both of the big two just really, we all know because I've said it dozens of times. Reading trades is much less stressful from that perspective.
Yeah,
it's like binging on Netflix.
Yes, yeah. Instead of being stressed out week to week because like there's a crappy episode thrown in amongst like the good ones.
Yeah. Well,
and half of that crappy episode is adverts.
Yeah, exactly.
We are right at about an hour and 40 minutes. So does anyone have anything that they want to like tag?
Nope.
I think I'm good.
Like no Twitter or anything that they want to toss out there?
I'm just happy to be here for my first episode. I thought it went well. I enjoyed it.
You can find me at Warman Horde on Twitter. I'm going to be on Twitter a lot more in the new year now that I'm kind of settled in my new job. So I'm going to be posting about articles and movies, and a lot of video game stuff. I do a lot more video game content than other stuff, but this is why I love these podcasts, because I can just jump in and talk about other things I'm interested in for once. And so yeah, you can follow me there. Otherwise, you'll find me on the Geeks Worldwide website.
Hey, Gaskews, do you have anything that you want to plug?
No, man, they know where to find all my stuff.
And James, you sure you don't want to plug your Twitter?
At Sass and Frass. I mean, if you want to look at it, that's my personal.
And I'm at the Marvelopedia on Twitter. I think this was a really successful first episode, guys. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Great.
It was really fun. The discussion really flowed well, and everyone was really informed on what they were talking about, and I thought it worked out really well.
Yeah. They'll be shorter. Don't flip out because this one's so long. We had to unpack Star Wars, so
we had the biggest movie in arguably 15 years to talk about.
Right.
And I still probably could talk about it for another an hour.
Yeah, I still got plenty of stuff that I didn't say.
We didn't even touch on the visual dictionary stuff.
Oh, exactly. All right, well, from everyone here at the Geeks Worldwide Geekly Weekly show, we would like to say goodbye, and we will see you next week.
Happy New Year.
Yeah,
Happy New
New
Year's.
Year, guys.
See ya. We got to be out.